Right, hello everyone. Look, if you're deep in the middle of a term, staring down a massive mountain of revision, and feeling like your brain is just constantly buffering, yeah, you're in exactly the right place. Today's explainer is basically the ultimate tech review of a 2,500-year-old mental system upgrade. We're going to be unpacking this brilliant piece of ancient psychology that is literally mapped out to completely optimize how you think and process information. Seriously though, ever feel like your brain is just lagging? Like you've got 50 tabs open in your mind, the fan is whirring like crazy, and you just cannot focus on that one mock exam paper sitting right in front of you. It feels like a hardware problem, right? Actually, scratch that. The issue isn't your brain itself, it's the sluggish mental software running on it. So today, we're grabbing the ultimate psychological software patch to get you running at absolute peak efficiency. Okay, let's dive into the source code. The system we're looking at today is the Bodhipakya Dhamma. Think of these as the official patch notes for the human mind. The text outlines 37 specific qualities that contribute to Bodhi, or supreme wisdom. And the whole point of installing these 37 requisites? It's to lead you out of samsara, which, let's be honest, is basically the ultimate, endless loop of system crashes, and into a completely bug-free state of final salvation. So here's our installation sequence for today. 1. The ultimate mental OS. 2. 7 system folders. 3. Administrative permissions and powers. And 4. Streamlining the core codebase. Okay, moving right into part 1, the ultimate mental OS. Let's look at the absolute end goal of this whole upgrade. The crucial thing here is that installing these 37 requisites isn't just about feeling a tiny bit more relaxed before your exams. The source text tells us that Bodhi represents the absolute culmination of mental culture. When you actually fulfill these qualities, they give you the pristine, optimized mental clarity needed to understand the Four Noble Truths. It's like getting ultimate VIP developer access to reality. It is the absolute peak of human mental processing power. Which brings us to part 2, 7 system folders. What is genuinely brilliant about this ancient text is the organization. It doesn't just throw 37 random rules at you and hope for the best. This massive toolkit is neatly grouped into 7 main folders: foundations of mindfulness, supreme efforts, accomplishments, faculties, powers, factors of enlightenment, and path factors. To really see how this works, we're going to click into a few of these specific folders. First up, the Kata Satipatthana, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. I like to think of this as your mind's background task manager. It's a complete system that is constantly monitoring your physical and mental processes, your body, feelings, consciousness, and mental objects. By setting up this background monitoring, you develop powerful insight, catching those random distracting thoughts way before they can crash your focus. Next, let's check out the 4 supreme efforts. This is basically an incredibly effective mental firewall. The text says these 4 efforts actively manage your state. First, you run a defensive sweep. You discard any unwholesome states that have already popped up, and then you prevent new ones from arising. Then, boom, you switch to offense. You develop brand new wholesome states and augment the wholesome ones you've already got running. It actively blocks the viruses and massively boosts your performance. Then we open the Iddhipada folder, the means of accomplishment, or roads to power. Think of these 4 as your core system utilities for achieving literally any goal. You need chanda, which is the raw desire to actually open your textbook in the first place. You need virya, the energy to keep reading when it gets incredibly boring. You need an extremely ardent chitta, or consciousness, as your instrumental tool. And finally, vimansa, the investigation or wisdom that actually penetrates the material. You just can't execute a goal without these 4 running in the background. All right, on to part 3, administrative permissions and powers. Once you have your core utilities running, you gotta manage who gets to control them, right? This brings us to one of the coolest concepts in the whole text. We have 5 faculties and 5 powers. Now, they are terminologically the exact same 5 factors: faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, but functionally, totally different. As faculties, they act like local admins, exercising control in their specific domains. But when they're developed into powers, they upgrade into unshakable core security. You become practically immune to crashing. Let's unpack the Bojjhanga folder next, the 7 factors of enlightenment. It is so fascinating to see how perfectly this balances system performance. You've got active factors like investigation and energy, sure, but you also have factors specifically designed to stop your mental hardware from overheating. Piti, which is zest or joy, and passaddhi, the literal tranquility of the mind. They act like liquid cooling for your brain. It's all about maintaining a perfectly balanced, self-collected state. And I really want to highlight just how absolutely critical this specific folder is. The source text explicitly states that while all 37 requisites are necessary, the Bojanga rank prominent as absolutely indispensable for the attainment of Bodhi. No way around it. If you want that final OS upgrade, these 7 factors are totally non-negotiable. We'll just briefly touch on the final folder, the 8 path factors. The text notes these are identical thematically with the Noble Eightfold Path, essentially acting as the core routing protocol for the entire Buddhist ethical system. It's a massive topic on its own, but it neatly completes our set of 7 folders. Which leads us to part 4, streamlining the core codebase. So we've talked about a ton of factors. And at first glance, a list of 37 requisites sounds like massive bloatware for your mental hard drive, doesn't it? Like, who on earth has the RAM to keep 37 different rules in their head while trying to prep for mocks? But here is the massive plot twist. Because certain core factors repeat across the different folders, remember how we saw energy pop up in the supreme efforts, the faculties, and the powers? The entire massive 37-factor system actually condenses down into just 14 unique executable lines of code. When we look at the frequency data directly from the text, it becomes incredibly clear what you need to focus on. Energy, or virya, that unfailing effort, is called a whopping 9 times across the OS. Mindfulness is called 8 times, and wisdom is called 5 times. These 3 are by far your most frequently utilized functions. If you want to optimize your mind right now, today, this is exactly where you start. Then we've got our mid-tier structural supports. Concentration occurs 4 times, and faith occurs twice. The remaining chunk of our system covers 9 highly specific single-use states that only occur once. This is where you find very specialized protocols like right speech, right action, and that specialized cooling, zest, and tranquility we talked about earlier. So this newly unpacked 14-entity toolkit is just brilliantly structured. It proves just how practical, logical, and deeply organized this 2,500-year-old psychology really is. By simply focusing on high-frequency traits like energy, mindfulness, and wisdom, and supporting them with concentration and faith, you are effectively running the entire 37 requisite system. It's literally highly efficient coding for the human mind. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. Now that you have the patch notes and the streamlined code, how are you going to run these 14 core qualities to upgrade your mind today? Next time you sit down to revise and feel your brain lagging, just remember, you already have the tools to clear the background tasks, activate your mental firewall, and run your mind at absolute peak efficiency. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy upgrading.